All right, ready to dive deep. Today, we're cracking open Franz Bardon's initiation into Hermetics.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and this isn't just some, dusty old magic book, you know what I mean? This one claims to be a practical guide to developing actual magical abilities.
Practical magic, huh?
Sign me up. But before we get ahead of ourselves, maybe we should start with, like, what Bardon even means by magic.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, he actually calls it a sacred science.
Okay, so is this like mixing potions and chanting spells, that kind of magic?
Not quite. Bardon is really careful to distinguish between true magicians and what he calls sorcerers.
Sorcerers, like the evil kind of magic users.
Well, it's not necessarily about good and evil, more like a difference in understanding and approach.
Okay, I'm following. So, like, the true magician is the one who really gets it, right?
Right, they understand the real power of these laws, and they wouldn't misuse them for cheap tricks.
Okay, so then what does a real magician actually do?
They study and apply universal laws, like the very fabric of existence.
Whoa, that sounds pretty intense.
It's about understanding the deep underlying order of the universe and learning to work with it, not against it.
Okay, so where do we even begin to learn these laws?
Well, Bardon provides a sort of roadmap, and he uses the imagery of the tarot to explain some of the core concepts.
Tarot cards. Okay. Is that like a fortune-telling thing?
Not exactly. Think of them as visual representations of complex ideas.
Visual representations. Okay, I can dig that.
Yeah, take the first card, the Magician. It depicts male and female figures, symbolizing the positive and negative forces within each of us.
Kind of like yin and yang.
Exactly. There's also the Hermaphrodite, representing the balance of these forces.
So it's all about balance.
Balance is definitely key.
Makes sense. Now, what about those four symbols on the card? The ones representing fire, water, air, and earth.
Ah, yes, the four elements.
Ah.
They're essential to Bardon's system. He even visually represents something called the electromagnetic fluid,
Hold on, electromagnetic fluid? What's that?
also known as animal magnetism, or odd. It's depicted as red and blue in the card, representing its electrical and magnetic aspects.
Okay, I'm trying to picture this. So is that like something we all have inside us?
You do. And what's fascinating is that these elements and this fluid are linked to specific areas of our bodies.
Whoa, so it's like we each contain a mini universe inside us.
Exactly. We're all reflections of the macrocosm.
Okay, but you said these elements exist on different planes. What does that mean?
Ah, yes. Bardon emphasizes that the elements manifest not just physically, but also on the astral and mental planes.
Okay, now you're losing me. What are those?
Imagine fire, for example. There's the physical flame you see, but there's also a subtler astral fire and a mental fire.
So, like, different forms of the element existing on different levels of reality.
Precisely. And each element has a dual nature, active and constructive, but also passive and destructive.
So it's all about balance again, even within each element.
Absolutely. Bardon even connects this duality to our personalities. Our dominant element influences our character.
That's interesting. So how do we know what our dominant element is?
Well, Bardon talks about something called the aura.
Oh, the aura, like the energy field around a person.
Yes, it's a visible emanation of the soul's elemental vibrations.
So you're saying our inner makeup is literally radiating outwards. That's pretty wild.
It is. And this brings us to the idea of the astral plane. It's what some call the fourth dimension, a subtler level of existence.
A fourth dimension. Okay, now this is where my head starts to spin.
Bardon describes it as a reflection of everything that has, is, and will be.
Whoa, like a giant cosmic mirror?
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Imagine a realm where time and space as we know them don't apply in the same way.
Okay, that's a lot to wrap my head around. And you said there's a mental plane too.
Yes. Bardon calls it the realm of thoughts and ideas.
So, like, is that where our thoughts come from?
That's what we might think, but Bardon presents a different perspective.
Okay, I'm listening.
He suggests we don't actually create thoughts, but rather receive them from this world of ideas. Think of it like a radio picking up signals.
So our minds are like receivers. That's a trippy thought.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it really opens up some interesting possibilities.
So how do we tap into all this potential? How do we become, real magicians?
Well, that's where Bardon's 10-step system comes in.
10 steps. That sounds like quite the journey.
It is, but it's a fascinating one. And it all starts with understanding these fundamental concepts.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. We've covered a lot of ground already, but I feel like we're just getting started.
We are. There's so much more to explore in Bardon's system.
I can't wait to dive deeper. Okay, so last time we got into some pretty wild stuff like astral projection and creating those elementals.
Yeah, it's definitely some next level stuff.
No kidding. So where should we pick up? What about that astral projection things? Like one of those things that just sounds so out there, you know?
Yeah, it definitely captures the imagination, doesn't it? But Bardon presents it in a very practical way, actually. He describes it as the conscious separation of your astral body from your physical body. It's like a deliberate out-of-body experience.
Okay, so it's not like dreaming or having a vision. You're actually saying that your consciousness can actually leave your body and travel on this astral plane.
Right, and he builds on those practices we talked about before, like those transference of consciousness exercises where you project your awareness into objects.
Oh, right, where you imagine yourself shrinking down and like entering an object.
Exactly. It's similar, but instead of projecting into an object with astral projection, you project your awareness into your own reflection in a mirror.
Wait, you use a mirror for this?
Yeah, it acts as a focal point. You gaze at your reflection, then close your eyes and imagine yourself stepping out of your physical body and into the mirror image.
Okay, now that is pretty trippy. So is it like walking through a portal or something?
It can feel that way. And the key is to practice this repeatedly. Eventually, you can start to perceive your surroundings on the astral plane while you're in this projected state.
So you start with just imagining it, and then with practice, you can actually see and hear things on this other plane of existence. That's like developing a whole new set of senses almost.
That's the idea. It takes time and dedication, but Bardon assures us that with consistent effort, it's achievable.
Man, that is just mind-blowing. Okay, but I have to ask, like, why would someone want to do this? What's the point of astral projection?
Well, think about it. Imagine being able to step outside of your everyday awareness and tap into a realm of pure information. That's the potential of the astral plane. You could, travel to distant places, connect with loved ones who have passed on, maybe even explore different dimensions.
Whoa, it's like having a superpower. You could literally go anywhere, anytime.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I imagine there are, some risks involved too, right?
Yeah, there's got to be some downsides.
Right. Bardon stresses the importance of using this ability responsibly. He cautions against, becoming fixated on astral travel or using it for selfish gain. It's not about escaping reality, but about gaining knowledge and understanding that you can bring back to this world.
Oh, I see. So it's not about checking out of life, but about expanding your consciousness and bringing back wisdom to help others.
Exactly. Astral projection is a tool for growth and self-discovery.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, now let's talk about creating elementals. Now, that's the one that's really got my head spinning. Like, how do you even create a being from scratch? It's like Frankenstein, but with magic.
Well, remember how we talked about the elements existing on multiple planes, right? The physical, the astral, and the mental.
Right, you said it's like there's this whole spectrum of each element, not just what we see in the physical world.
Exactly. And creating elementals involves working with those subtle, non-physical forms of the elements, shaping them with your willpower and imagination.
Oh, okay, so it's like sculpting with energy instead of clay.
I like that. That's a great analogy. Bardon describes various methods depending on the elemental's purpose and complexity. One technique involves using what he calls a fluid condenser, which is like a liquid charged with elemental energy.
And you can create this yourself, right? Like using specific herbs and minerals.
Right. He actually gives you recipes in the book. It's kind of like he's written a magical cookbook.
That's so cool.
Right. But he also emphasizes the importance of, understanding the principles behind it, not just blindly following instructions. It's about working with the energies consciously and intentionally.
Right, of course. Got to be responsible. Okay, so once you have this fluid condenser, how do you actually, like, bring the elemental to life?
Well, you project your will and imagination into the fluid, essentially giving it a form and a purpose. You can even imbue it with specific qualities or instructions depending on what you want it to do.
Wow, okay, that's pretty amazing. So what can you actually get these elementals to do?
Well, Bardon suggests a whole range of possibilities. From influencing events to carrying messages to providing protection. It really depends on your intention and the elemental's design.
So hypothetically, you could create an elemental to help you get a promotion at work or protect your home from negative energy?
Yeah, those are definitely possibilities. But again, he emphasizes the ethical implications. These beings are powerful, and they should be treated with respect and used responsibly.
Right, because I can totally see how something like that could be, misused.
Yeah, for sure. Bardon warns against using elementals for selfish or harmful purposes. He stresses the importance of aligning your actions with, the greater good.
Okay, so what about those elementaries he mentions? What are those? Are they like elementals, but I don't know, stronger?
You could say that. Think of an elementary as a more powerful and complex version of an elemental.
Hmm.
It's created using multiple elements and often involves more elaborate rituals.
Okay, so it's like a master level elemental. And what can they do that regular elementals can't?
Well, elementaries are capable of, some pretty incredible feats, including influencing physical events.
Wait, so they can actually affect the physical world, like move things or something?
Yes, if they're created with that intention. But Bardon stresses that this is advanced magic, not to be undertaken lightly.
Okay, noted. Now, what about those larva things? Those sounded kind of creaky, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, they can be kind of unsettling. Larvae are essentially thought forms that have, taken on a life of their own. They arise unconsciously from strong emotions, particularly negative ones like fear, anger, and hatred.
So, like you're saying, our negative thoughts can actually, like, become monsters.
Well, it's not quite that dramatic, but they can become energetic entities that feed on our energy and influence our behavior.
That's still pretty disturbing. So, like, what can we do about these things? Can we get rid of them?
Yeah, Bardon explains how to, identify and deal with these larvae, but it can be quite challenging. It often requires deep introspection and working to transform those negative emotions. It's another reason why, self-knowledge and mastering your thoughts and emotions is crucial in Bardon's system.
This is a lot to take in. It seems like every time we peel back a layer, there's another layer underneath. So, with all these different types of magic and beings, like what are some practical ways someone could actually apply these ideas in their life?
Ah, that's a great question.
Mm.
And Bardon does provide some practical examples. He talks about, healing, influencing others, and even manifesting desires. It's all about working with those universal laws to bring about positive change.
Right. So, like putting these ideas into action.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm definitely intrigued. So, let's dive into those practical applications next time.
Sounds good. I think it'll be really interesting to see where this goes.
I agree. This is getting really wild. Okay. So, last time we were talking about some of those practical ways magic can be used, like, for healing and manifesting desires and stuff. But I feel like there's got to be even more to this than just like making our lives easier, you know?
You're right. Bardon doesn't just stop at the practical. He actually takes it a step further and explores that ultimate goal of magical training, which is, spiritual enlightenment, or as he calls it, union with the divine.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we're talking about like connecting with God. That's a pretty big goal.
It is, but Bardon approaches it in a very, uh, unique way, building on everything we've already talked about. Remember how he emphasizes the four elements as like reflections of universal laws?
Right, fire, water, air, and earth, each one like representing a different aspect of creation.
Exactly. And he applies that same framework to his understanding of God, seeing the divine expressed through four fundamental qualities: omnipotence, omniscience, immortality, and omnipresence.
So instead of seeing God as like this singular, abstract entity, he's breaking it down into these four core principles, each connected to an element.
Precisely. Omnipotence is linked to fire, omniscience to air, immortality to water, and omnipresence to earth.
That's really fascinating. It's like he's mapping out the divine using the language of the elements. So how do we like actually achieve this union with the divine? Is it about, praying to a higher power?
Not quite. Bardon suggests that the path to this union actually involves mastering those four divine qualities within yourself.
Oh, okay. So instead of focusing on some external deity, it's about cultivating these divine attributes within our own being.
Exactly. It's about becoming a reflection of the divine. And the primary tool for achieving this is deep meditation.
And he calls this deification.
He does. And it's a gradual process of aligning yourself with these divine qualities step by step. You start by meditating on each quality individually, just, deeply immersing yourself in its essence.
So, for example, you might meditate on the fire element and the quality of omnipotence, trying to, feel that power within you.
Exactly. And you do the same with each of the other elements and their corresponding qualities. The goal is to embody these principles, so fully that you actually become a living expression of them.
Man, that sounds incredibly powerful. But I imagine it's not easy.
It's not. Bardon is very clear that this isn't, a quick fix or anything.
Mm.
It requires years of dedicated practice, discipline, and purification. He warns against, seeking shortcuts or using these practices for personal gain.
Right, because true spiritual growth isn't about ego gratification. It's about, transcending the limitations of the self and merging with something much greater.
Exactly. It's about aligning with the divine will, not imposing your own. And Bardon doesn't, shy away from the challenges involved. He talks about facing inner demons and overcoming obstacles on the path.
So it's not all sunshine and roses.
Definitely not. He describes a process of confronting your shadow self, those negative aspects of your personality that you might be suppressing or ignoring.
It sounds like this path requires a lot of courage and honesty.
It does. It's about wholeness, embracing all aspects of yourself and, bringing them into balance.
Right. He also mentions the importance of having a guide, right? Someone to help you, navigate this challenging terrain.
He does. He talks about the value of a spiritual teacher or mentor, someone who has, already walked this path and can offer guidance and support.
But ultimately, it's a journey we each have to take on our own, right?
That's right. No one can do the work for you. You have to be willing to, face your own inner demons, confront your limitations, and make the necessary sacrifices.
Well, it's a path of radical self-transformation.
It is. And Bardon suggests that this transformation can even manifest physically as well. He mentions the possibility of the body becoming more luminous, even radiating a subtle light.
Wow, like those halos you see depicted around saints in, religious art.
Exactly. It's a reflection of the inner light that has been cultivated through years of, spiritual practice.
Amazing, like how Bardon's system is so comprehensive. It encompasses everything from, practical techniques to those highest spiritual aspirations. He really ties it all together.
It really is a remarkable system, and he doesn't even stop there. He hints at even greater mysteries that are, beyond the scope of this book. He references those 22 major arcana cards of the tarot as representing different stages of initiation and deeper levels of understanding.
Oh, wow. So initiation into Hermetics is just the beginning.
In a way, yes. It
Yeah.
lays the foundation for a lifelong journey of, spiritual exploration and self-discovery.
Well, it's safe to say we've only scratched the surface of this vast and fascinating topic today. But I definitely feel like I have a much better understanding of what Bardon is really getting at.
I think so too. Hopefully, this deep dive has given you a glimpse into the depth and complexity of his system and maybe even sparked your curiosity to learn more.
It definitely has. I'm left with a sense of awe and wonder at the possibilities of magic and the potential for, human transformation.
That's the beauty of it, isn't it? The journey never really ends. There's always more to discover, more to learn, more to become.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought, something to ponder as you continue your own exploration. If you could develop one magical ability, what would it be? And how would you use it for good?
That's an excellent question, one that invites deep reflection and maybe even, a glimpse into your own soul's purpose.
Until next time, fellow knowledge seekers, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep the magic alive.